Welcome to the Great American Podcast. Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groniger. Normally, we are joined by athletes. We are joined by pro wrestlers. We are joined by musicians. But today, a very special treat. We have the fish expert, world-renowned fish expert, and son of Y2J, Chris Jericho. Ash Irvine is joining us. Ash, how you doing, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Oh, we're doing awesome, man. We can't thank you enough for coming on today, taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure some of your segments from the Talk is Jericho podcast of you talking fish has got you to a new level of fame. Is that how it's been for you?
Yeah.
So you go around the hallways at school and you just people just can't leave you alone, can they?
Well, not quite like that, but
Well, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, Ash, we enjoy your segments on the Talk is Jericho podcast, so we had to have you on our own show here on the Great American Podcast. GreatAmericanSportsNetwork.com is the website. Ash, we've been looking, my partner Noah and I have been looking at some of the craziest fish, some of the weirdest fish. And what would you say of all the fish that you know about, all of the expertise you have, is your favorite kind of fish that like no one else really knows about, like the favorite oddball fish of yours?
there's a fish called a tripod fish, and it lives on the bottom of the sea. It lives in the twilight zone, and it has three little legs that just stick out and spin itself on the ground.
Well, this is so crazy, and we've been looking at some of these fish, and that is, and you refer to the twilight zone, which is, if I'm correct, now you've taught me this, I just got to make sure I remember for the test, the bottom depths of the ocean, that's the twilight zone, right?
Pardon?
The bottom depths, like the very furthest deep part of the ocean, that's the twilight zone, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I remember that. So if that's on the test later, I will remember it. So you can quiz us later, because you know more about fish than anyone I know, Ash. And how did this happen? How did you become such a fish expert? Have you just loved fish since you were a kid?
Yeah, I love fish since I was pretty much since I was born. I started watching shark shows and Shark Week and, fish and stuff like that, fishing shows, and I just love them. I love little sharks and fish. By the time I was 2, I could name half of so many fish and sharks.
Well, hey, that's really impressive, Ash. And do you want to go into marine biology, or do you want to make this a career going forward? Have you thought that far ahead?
Actually, when I grow up, I want to be an ichthyologist, which is the study of fish and sharks.
That sounds perfect. That sounds just like what it should be. Now, Ash, you have your grandpa, Ted, he played in the NHL. Your dad, Chris Jericho, is a world-famous wrestler, the lead singer of Fozzy. I mean, what's that like for you growing up, with your grandpa being a former athlete, your dad being, the sexy beast that he is? Like, what's it like being, Chris Jericho's son? Is it crazy? Like, do people come up to you in the halls and they're like, hey, man, your last name's supposed to be Jericho. What's up with that? Like, they don't understand?
Yeah, that happens actually a lot. And sometimes when we're eating, at a restaurant or at the beach, people will just walk up, ask for a picture, ask for an autograph.
That is.
Sometimes it gets a little annoying.
I bet so. Yes, I mean, Chris Jericho, he goes back. We both of us, Noah and here at the Great American Sports Network, we go way back with Y2J, with your dad, Chris Jericho, and when we heard you on his podcast, we were like, my goodness, that is something we've never done. We've never had a fish expert, and we're so glad to talk to you about it. And you talk about going into that as a career. So are you not very interested in sports at all? Not interested in wrestling or hockey or football or basketball or anything like that?
I play hockey and football. I am in the in-house league, and a couple months ago I scored my first goal in a while.
That is awesome. The next Wayne Gretzky right here. The next Ted Irvine, perhaps. Your grandpa played for the Winnipeg Jets, I believe, back in the day. And that's awesome, though. So you're a well-rounded man. The girls are starting to notice Ash Irvine. I mean, he's a world-renowned fish expert. He's an athlete. You're kind of a Renaissance man, Ash. So, that leads me to this. I mean, coming up here, you have done so many great things. You've been on what's it like being on the podcast with your dad? He's got so many great listeners, so many people that listen. And what's it like going on to talk about fish with your dad on the podcast?
It's really fun. When people ask the questions, that's fun to listen to the questions. And I love it when people comment on it. And it's just really fun to get on with my dad and, you know, talk about the stuff I really know about.
That is so cool, and that led myself and my partner Noah here to reach out to the Talk Is Jericho Twitter page, and we want to have everyone do that. Go to Talk Is Jericho on Twitter and find podcast1.com. That's where the Talk Is Jericho podcast is located. It's the ¡1 podcast in the world, Ash, and you've been on that, and you've been on with us, so it's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, maybe not so much these great American guys, but so Ash, I got to ask you, you've grown up, you know, your dad being a wrestler. Like, do you like to watch wrestling even like when your dad's not wrestling? I mean, do you like to watch wrestling?
I watch it when he's like wrestling and stuff. I'm not really into wrestling. I mean, I'm into hockey now. I really got into hockey and football.
Well, hey, those are great.
Speaking of which, I am really excited for the Super Bowl.
That's great you brought that up. We were getting ready to do our big Super Bowl show coming up with some great guests. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? We got the Seahawks. We got the New England Patriots. Who's going to win it, Ash?
Seahawks. Seahawks all the way.
They just have such a good defense. It's right. Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor. It's Earl Thomas. Great defense. They're going to win. They're going to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots.
Yeah.
So Ash, tell us
Yep.
now what in your time, you know, surely you've been to wrestling events, you've been backstage. Who are some like cool wrestlers that you've met that you thought were cool and that like joked around with you and you thought were neat guys?
We went to the Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we were sitting right next to Rey Mysterio, and he just kept tapped me on the back, and it just got so annoying.
Well, you realize, right, you could have turned around and put him in the walls of Jericho.
I should have.
I mean, you guys are about the same size. Like, you're getting big, man. You're getting older, and Mysterio's a little guy. So you liked Rey Mysterio. And so, you know, we've been looking. What was this fish, Noah, you pulled up here? I wanted to ask Ash about.
The Siamese fighting fish. We had a question about that. It's supposed to have all kinds of different colors, very addicting fish to like. So what do you think about that one?
Siamese fighting fish, they're cool. They're pretty cool fish. They don't do well with, like, if you want to have multiple Siamese fighting fish in the same tank, you have to have, like, one male and, like, 7 females.
That is absolutely, yeah. We saw that, and they said that someone here did say they make good pets. So, like, are you someone, like, we saw a picture online of you and your dad, like, you guys have caught, I don't know if you remember this, like, you caught some giant fish, like maybe it was a gar or something. Like, do you guys like to go fishing a lot, or do you just like to study them mostly?
I like to go fishing, like, on the ocean, and we go to Minnesota every summer, and we fish on Lake Vermilion, and I think you might have seen a muskie.
Oh gosh, you have not fished, so you fished the Minnesota. You got the walleye, the muskie, the bluegill. Ash, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't need to tell you that. You already know all that stuff. One last question, I have to ask you before we let you go. And you've been so generous, and thank you so much. Your dad giving us a call earlier, making sure everything was straight. You guys are out shopping. How cool is that? Your dad just out shopping. He was just did a live event in Houston the other day, wrestling, and here you guys are out just chilling. That's so cool. But I got to ask you about the Loch Ness Monster. Do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster? Do you think it exists? And could it exist? Because I know you know a lot about like prehistoric fish like megalodons. And do you think that Nessie could exist today?
That's a tough question. There's been tons and tons of searches, and there's been tons of theories. Like, my opinion is it does exist, but it might not be the thing we don't think it is.
That's a very good point, because we do not have very good photo evidence of it yet. Ash, I tell you what, we cannot thank you enough. We've got a Super Bowl pick. The Seattle Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to write that down, Ash, and we're going to make sure we remember that you picked them. Thank you so much for giving us a call, Ash. Tell your dad. Thank you so much, and we're huge, of course, Chris Jericho fans. Always check Ash out on the Talk Is Jericho podcast. He makes frequent, whenever you have time away from your busy schedule, away from the fans, you get to go be on the Talk Is Jericho podcast, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks a lot, buddy. We'll definitely be in touch, and good luck with everything. Good luck with the school year, and we will talk to you soon, my man.
All right. See ya.
Thanks a lot.